ongoing federal projects in the southeast will be adequately funded and timely completed despite delay experienced in passing the 2018 budget.
We're given also, a cheering news that not only the railway be awarded as say, but it's going to touch all the state capitals in southeast.
INEC to monitor political parties' campaigns to ensure they are issue-based.
All Progressives Congress, APC, inaugurates reconciliation committees for the 6 geopolitical zones of the country.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit, as well as the Nigerian Diaspora and National Development.
Now, with lots of measures and policies introduced by the Buhari administration to improve the ease of doing business in Nigeria, the country is fast becoming a robust investment destination for smart investors.
Well, Joy, no doubt things are beginning to look up in terms of attracting foreign direct investment to the country, given the robust economic policies of government, as well as engagement with successful Nigerian professionals abroad.
Now, more than 200 Nigerians in diaspora will be storming the country next week to participate in the first Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit, which is a direct result of President Muhammadu Buhari's consistent engagement with Nigerians in diaspora and the call for them to invest in the country.
Well, Joe, again, this is timely, you may say, as the summit is aimed at encouraging Nigerians abroad to channel their funds and expertise into the critical sectors of the country's economy. Now, it will, of course, highlight and tackle some of the bottlenecks that have stood against the full participation of Nigerians abroad in the country's development.
That's right, Kingsley. Now, the summit has as its theme activating diaspora investments for a diversified economy, and it is designed towards getting Nigerians in the diaspora to look in the direction of areas that have not been fully exploited for economic growth and investment opportunities.
All right, now, because of our conversation segment of the program today, we shall get to find out who the key actors in the diaspora are that are expected to participate in the summit. Indeed, what the summit is all about and what the expected outcomes will be, together with the positive impact on the Nigerian economy.
Now, it's diaspora all the way as we shall continue the discussion on the Nigeria diaspora and national development in the second part of the program, considering how other countries have used the diaspora for development. How can Nigeria leverage on its own diaspora professionals for national development? We will get to find out from the experts we have assembled on the program today. It is on this note that we welcome you to today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria, coming to you live on the network service of the Nigeria Television Authority, the NTA. I am Joy Usiago.
I join my colleague Joy in also welcoming you to today's edition of the program, in the course of which we shall have our regular companion segments, including newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and others. In the meantime, let's go over to our colleague Stella Inamiti for the highlights of the morning news. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
Good morning, Kingsley and Joy. Here is the morning news. President Muhammadu Buhari says the 7-month delay experienced in passing the 2018 budget, notwithstanding, all ongoing projects in the southeast will be adequately funded and timely completed for enhanced socio-economic development. Exchanging views with southeast political leaders led by the Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, the president was emphatic that his administration will not default on the agreement signed on all ongoing critical infrastructure projects.
We came on behalf of Southeast to thank Mr. President for the award of the second Niger bridge, to Julius Beja in the sum of 206 billion naira. We also thank him for the Enyimba, Aba economic free zone, and he promised to come and, commission it.
In another news, President Muhammadu Buhari has directed law enforcement and related government agencies in the country to carefully study and implement effectively the report of the Senior Executive Course 40 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. The report, which is a product of presidential mandate to the institute a year ago, provides a critical pathway towards checkmating the challenges of security in Nigeria for sustainable peace and prosperity.
Your report is coming at a time when we are changing the national security strategy by placing much emphasis on the well-being of Nigerians. I am using this occasion to direct relevant government agencies to carefully study the report with a view to implementing its recommendations.
And as the campaigns for the presidential and National Assembly elections commence, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is closely monitoring the behavior of all the political parties to ensure that the campaigns are issue-based. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu stated this in a meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja.
The recruitment and training of election duty staff, discuss the ongoing review of the framework for voting by internally displaced persons, the IDPs, explore additional assistive measures in support of persons with disabilities in the electoral process.
To strengthen its team spirit, the All Progressives Congress, like the popular saying, which defines team as together everybody achieve more, has inaugurated conflict resolution committees for the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. The committees are saddled with the task of looking into the various crises rocking the party in each of the zones and draft strategies to fix them.
But even if the outcome of a perfect exercise makes one person unhappy, we must, in spite of our conviction that we've done our very best, make extra effort to identify those who are unhappy for one reason or the other and use our in-house huge human resource to try to find in-house solutions.
As a saying that one element of national power of a country cannot effectively combat insecurity as an island, but needs alliance and synergy, the Nigerian Air Force is taking the bull by the horns by throwing its doors open to contributions from air power practitioners in the world. This is with a view to harnessing the wealth of experience from other countries to improve on the counter-insurgency operations of the Nigerian Air Force in line with international best practices.
Rather than coming back to Maiduguri now, we can operate from Difa, which is in the Niger Republic. So I think for us that is the most important thing.
The Nigerian Air Force is capable to do any mission. However, the Nigerian Air Force need a support of the Nigerian government in terms of enhancing Nigerian Air Force capabilities.
Special Assistant Communication Strategy Borno State Issa Gusso says the 4th chapter of former President Goodluck Jonathan's book On My Transition Hours, where the president talked about the abduction of the Chibok girls, was controversial as it creates doubt in the minds of Nigerians as to the true abduction of the girls.
Shift the goalposts in trying to give an impression that maybe the Borno State government, the then opposition APC under his administration, and some foreign governments came together to conspire against him.
As part of the continued efforts to improve Nigeria's justice delivery, an annual criminal law review conference has been introduced to give inputs into the justice delivery system of the country. The maiden edition of the Criminal Law Review Conference was held at the International Conference Center in Abuja.
The concept of having this conference is a very, very welcome development, and I congratulate the coordinator.
So where there is a conflict between the provision of AGDA in terms of investigation or any of those related matters, it takes precedence over any other statutes.
The Nigerian Law Reforms Commission amendment has passed a third reading at Senate. The act is meant to address all contending issues affecting the Commission's performance. In any form of allegation, the Nigerian Constitution gives every Nigerian the right to fair hearing. To this end, the Director General of NEMA, Mustapha Mihaja, responded to the recent allegation of financial misappropriation against the agency by the House Committee on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness, where he described the allegation as baseless and lacking verifiable facts. He stated this while speaking in Abuja in response to the House allegations.
For example, there is allegation of 17 billion ecological fund. On one part, there was also, in the same report, they said 10 billion. So you could imagine the discrepancies in the same document. So there was no release of 5.8 billion naira to NEMA at any point in time. There wasn't.
And that's the news highlights for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Joy and Kingsley after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
Is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
My name is DK Berry Charles. I'm from Abuja local government area, Anambra State. I'm privileged to be one of the beneficiaries of this Empower and Health. To be specific, I'm a graduate of Human Anatomy.
My name is Abubakar Musa Sufi. I'm from Kano State, Fagge local government. I study in Kano State University of Science and Technology as a food scientist.
Applied for the Empower program, but I was reluctant because of the way that things have been going in this country. You know, is based on who you know, based on favoritism, your godfather, or maybe nepotism, religion, and ethnic stuff like that. So when we went there in Fagge local government, it was not based on maybe religion or ethnicity, but it was surely based on merit. Once you have your credential on ground, you are good to go.
I must testify that it is free of any form of nepotism.
We have a challenge. My husband has a big interview, but his shirts aren't cleaning well.
Don't panic, Ngozi. Just use Good Mama. Good Mama's extra cleaning power removes all dirt, leaving a wonderful scent. Look, whites are white, colors are bright, and extra fresh.
Now in a 1 kg pack.
He got the job?
What do you think?
Obvious.
Good Mama knows best.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
You in the air-conditioned office with the itchy throat. Strepsils. Girl in the spotlight with the raspy throat. Strepsils. You in the pollution. Yes, you. Dry throat. Strepsils. Hello in the downpour with the scratchy throat. Take Strepsils. Strepsils, with its soothing medicinal ingredients, will heal the harm done to your throat from external factors. Strepsils. Strepsils. Strepsils, for a dry, itchy, raspy, scratchy throat.
Team huddle. But we lost. Don't be tired, guys. This isn't a loss. It's a practice for winning.
Nothing makes a mother prouder than seeing her child growing up. But I know as he learns to lead, he'll face even more dirt, germs, and risk of illness.
That's why in changing seasons, you need strong Dettol protection. Because Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Thanks for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Next for us is Business News with Chimobi Walter Naji.
The Consumer Price Index CPI, which measures inflation, decreased by 11.26% year-on-year in October 2018. This is 0.02 percent points lower than the rate recorded in September 2018, which is 11.28%. The headline index increased by 0.74% in October 2018, down by 0.09 percent points from the rates recorded in September 2018. The percentage change in the average composite CPI for the 12-month period ending October 2018 over the average of the CPI for the previous 12-month period was 12.78% from 13.16% recorded in September 2018. The report revealed that the urban inflation rate increased by 11.64% year-on-year in October 2018 from 11.70% recorded in September 2018, while the rural inflation rate increased by 10.93% in October 2018 from 10.92% in September 2018. On a month-on-month basis, the urban index rose by 0.76% in October 2018 from 0.86% recorded in September, while the rural index also rose by 0.72% in October 2018, down from the rate recorded in September 2018, which is 0.82%. Meanwhile, the value of Bitcoin, which is the most popular cryptocurrency, has crashed to a one-year low, hovering around $4,000 as the volume of the cryptocurrency in Nigeria dipped to 1.08 billion naira in a 24-hour panic-driven market. Analysts believe if the value of the cryptocurrency, which once sold at almost $20,000 in December 2017, breaks the $4,000 border, may crash to $3,000. As regulators in the Nigerian market warned against the cryptocurrency market and the value dropped, the volume of Bitcoin traded in the country has waned. Here are the closing figures on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With Business News, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji.
All right, thank you very much, Walter Naji, for the business package on Good Morning Nigeria. Next for us now is a review of the stories in some of today's newspapers.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoibi, is here for the review this morning. Good morning, Bayo. Good to see you.
Thank you, Joy. Good morning, Joy.
Welcome.
Good morning, Kinsley.
Yeah, Bayo, good to see you.
Nigeria.
That's right.
Right,
Okay,
Kinsley.
let's take a look at the front pages of the papers I have this morning. Indeed, the three papers I have, they are stories. The lead stories are on the visit by some Southeast leaders to President Buhari. So let me just take those stories quickly. But of course, you also have that story on the front page of the Daily Sun. From the New Telegraph, the lead story says, Southeast leaders table demands before Buhari with two riders. President, I'll fund all projects in the region, and SGF, that's Secretary of Government of the Federation, Igbo, closer to presidency with Buhari's support. The photograph there on the front page of the paper shows the governors briefing the media after the interaction with President Buhari. Now, it's also the lead story for the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper says, why we met Buhari by Southeast governors. With a rider, support for president, quickest way to Igbo presidency, and that's according to the SGF. And for the Daily Sun newspaper, it's the front page, of course, the story is also there, but right at the foot of the front page, we have it amongst other headlines. It says, Southeast demands prompt action on Second Niger Bridge and Enugu Airport, and wants free trade zone in Abuja. Details can be found on page 39. But there are other stories on the front pages of the paper, so let me just run through, Joy, very quickly now, the other stories on the front page of Daily Sun newspaper. Beginning with the earpiece, that's beside the name flag. Of a robbery prime suspect dies in custody. I'm vindicated, says Saraki as he demands inquiry. That's the writer to that headline. And the lead story, Chibok Girls Saga, Jonathan versus Shetima. Shetima is the governor of Borno. The first writer says, ex-president's book, work of fiction. That's Borno governor. And writer, second one says, governor abdicated his duty. Jonathan alleges in book. And so, below the photograph on the front page there of the Daily Sun, you have other headlines. 2019, FCT Council polls hold March 2nd with governorship and state assembly elections. That's page 9. Again, Air Rufai defends Muslim ticket. It says government house not worship place as Christians kick, page 41. Political power shouldn't be weapon of oppression. Dixon, governor of Bayelsa.
All right, Kingsley, let's go quickly to the pilot, the Nigerian pilot newspaper. We have similar stories trending. Below the nameplate, EFCC quizzes ex-Abia Governor Chodo Orji over alleged 27 billion naira loot. That story is on page 5. And beside it, Ekweremadu, Southeast governors meet Buhari behind closed doors, lobby him on Second Niger Bridge. And for the lead story, 2015 elections exposed INEC, says Jonathan. It comes with a couple of riders. Says its cancellation would have been like exploding an atomic bomb. Accuses the Commission of Buyers in card reader distribution. Insists he had a star-studded cabinet that achieved a lot. Chides those that label his administration clueless. And you can see the picture there. It shows Obi of Onitsha, Igwe Alfred Achibe, former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, ex-president of Ghana, John Mahama. His counterpart, Goodluck Jonathan of Nigeria, Boni Yayi of Benin Republic, and Bai Kuroma of Sierra Leone at the launch of the book, My Transition Hours, by former President Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. Now, let's look below the picture. Aftermath of fire outbreak, EFCC relocates data center. And at the foot of the front page of the Nigerian pilot, of a robbery principal suspect at Diku dead, says the police. Boko Haram, Borno State excluded from Central Bank of Nigeria's 9.4 billion naira loan to 55,000 Northeast farmers. Alleged 3 million scandal or Tedola in court, affirms Lawal demanded bribe. And Kaduna Can accuses politicians of hate speech unguarded utterance. And finally, Senate summons Amechi over alleged neglect of South-East Rail project. Bye.
Well, the visit by Southeast Governors Forum to the President has been explained by the chairman of that forum, Governor Dave Omahi of Ebonyi State, that they came to discuss infrastructural development in the Southeast. And he said that they thanked the President for the second Niger Bridge, but they had a request. And the request is that they want the payment of the construction, which is estimated about 206 billion, that 50% should be paid upfront, and then the other 50% by bond. They also said that, so this was necessary because they want the people in the Southeast to be able to sleep with their two eyes closed, and because they will be sure that the job is done. And it is not far-fetched. As far back as 2003, the second Niger Bridge has always been a political gimmick, particularly during campaign time. And they say they also want the construction period reduced for the 42 months that it is being projected to 24 months. Other issues they raise include the free trade zone known as Enyimba for Aba, and the deploying of cargo and completing of Enugu International Airport. They also asked for, they complained that the Western Corridor Railway is ongoing, while the Eastern Corridor has not been awarded. Governor Umahi clarified that the visit was purely for economic reasons and it bears no relation with the 2019 election. But trust politicians, the Secretary to the Government of Federation, Boss Mustafa, who was there, also described the visit as a remarkable because it was for them to thank the President over the major activities of the administration in the Southeast. And he reminded that some time ago when he represented the President, he flew a kite that their support for presidency was the quickest shortcut to 2019 election. Meanwhile, the issue of the rail, Southeast Rail, particularly the eastern flank from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, that was raised, has also been raised on the floor of the Senate. By the way, the Deputy Senate President was part of that delegation. And in the Senate, the expectation was that the Minister for Transport should come and explain to the Committee of Transportation and those of loans and debt why the federal government excluded the Eastern Rail Line, Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, from its programs. The ongoing nationwide rail construction is particularly heavy on the standard gauge and also the narrow gauge, particularly on the Western Corridor. The Minister of Transportation, according to the Sun, had time to explain some time ago that the Port Harcourt-Maiduguri rail line is included in the 2018 borrowing plan. Meanwhile, the court, a high court in Ilorin, has heard that the principal suspect in the April field robbery of Ofa, identified as Michael Adiku, is dead. The Commissioner of Justice, who is prosecuting the case, informed the court that the police hinted him about this on Monday. Michael Adiku is the former policeman among those gang of robbers who was said to have led the brutal assault which led to about 30 persons being killed in broad daylight. 5 other suspects, including Akini Bosso, who was said to be the gang leader, had no legal representation. The judge of the court said that the court has taken note of the information, but there was no evidence before the court that the first accused person was dead. The Attorney General of Kwara State, who is prosecuting, says that they will now amend their charges and then represent the case. They adjourn the case till next week.
All right, Bayo, let's return to the New Telegraph newspaper. New Telegraph, above the nameplate of the paper, 365 farmers seek government's lifeline, can't repay loan, and say flood has ravaged rice farms. Below that, EFCC arraigned 22 INEC officials and ex-director over 32 million naira poll fraud. Details can be found on page 2. And also below the name flag, we already have stories that we have read from other papers, but 2 of them very quickly. Headers Farmers Clash claims 11 in Katsina and alleged 27 billion naira fraud. EFCC quizzes ex-Abia governor T.A. Orji. That's page 32. And right at the foot of the front page of the New Telegraph is the second lead story. This is a fallout from the book launched by former President Goodluck Jonathan. Jonathan, that's the kicker. TSA, BVN, IPPIs are my legacies, and says Nigeria more corrupt today than under his watch. And another writer, Chibok kidnapped Shetima, accuses ex-president of hiding facts. And very quickly also from the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, one of the headlines below the nameplate, DSS and military arrest Boko Haram medic and kidnappers. That can be found on page 7. And then right at the foot of the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, let's take 2 of the 3 headlines there. 2019 will monitor campaigns, that's attributed to INEC, page 13. And DMO allots 39.5 billion naira federal government of Nigeria bonds to investors. Bayo.
Right. Let's take the story about the inflation, which Nigeria Bureau of Statistics has come up with. Bureau of Statistics says inflation has dropped to 11.26%. That is at the end of October. If compared to what it was at the end of September, it means the drop was about 0.2%. However, although the inflation has declined, the composite food index indicated a rise of about 13.28%. And the Bureau of Statistics reported also that urban inflation increased by 11.64%, while rural inflation also increased by 10.93%. It means the increase in inflation in the urban area is far, far higher than those in the rural areas. And the NBS attributed this to rise in prices of fruits, meats, vegetables, tubers, bread, cereals, as well as oil. But interesting indication here is that the highest inflation were recorded in the Ekiti State, and it was 13.8%, and Jigawa 13.13%. The slowest in the inflation were recorded in Ogun, 9.63%, Cross River 8.7%, and Kwara State is 8.07%. There's a report about INEC, 2 reports particularly. One, INEC chairman has indicated that they are closely monitoring the campaign that is ongoing, and so far there's good news. He says that from all indications, campaigns now are centered on issues, but they will continue to monitor. Chairman INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, made this revelation while addressing a meeting of resident electoral commissioner. However, the governorship elections has not started. It is only that of the presidential and the National Assembly. However, if you monitor the electronic media closely, already some campaigns about governors in office is already ongoing, and this needs to be checked. Meanwhile, the report that Kingsley read, 22 INEC officials have been arraigned in court. Among them was a retired director who, with 2 others, were said to have received a sum of 32,120,000. They were joined with 6 other electoral officers who have been brought to court. They have been granted bail to the sum of about 10 million, was about a civil servant not below level 12, and the case is coming up December 6th and 13th.
All right, Bayo. Now let's go quickly to this day newspaper. If you turn to page 42 all the way to page 57 of this day newspaper, you will find congratulatory messages for the paramount ruler of Okiri Eleme community, Rivers State. He is Royal Highness Ambassador Dr. Apollos Chu. Now, he's being hailed for backing the Africa Security Watch Peace Ambassador Award in the Gambia and the Award of Excellence as Security Icon 2018 by the Police Community Relations Committee, PCRC. Rivers State Command, due to his immense contributions to community security. And it is said that it's a milestone that sets the stage for more dedication to the peace project he has always promoted across communities, tribes, and states of the nation. It is also a necessary message and encouragement to his contemporaries who believe that security is exclusively the reserve of the government without support or need to support the government's effort towards keeping communities peaceful, safe, united, and prosperous. Now, let's go quickly to our editorial for today. It is taken from the Nigerian Pilot newspaper, and it is titled, "Quashing the Abomination of Same-Sex Advocacy in Nigeria." There is no end in sight to the global controversy and debate around the abomination called gay or lesbianism, a strange sexual orientation and liberal ideology promoted in the name of human rights of citizens in a democratic society. In Nigeria, this concept of unfettered freedom for immorality has crept in for the up-10th time, but thankfully, a court of competent jurisdiction in Nigeria in a recent judgment rejected an application for a registration of lesbian organization by Corporate Affairs Commission. Now, it says that we stand with the court on this issue as such practice is inimical to the cultural and traditional practices as well as the morality of Nigerian people. It is condemned by our laws, our religious institutions largely embraced by the larger population of our people. African society and particularly Nigerian civilization does not only abhor such unnatural conjugal practice but criminalizes it.
Well, sometimes that's the price some people have to pay in other climes for what is described as unfettered freedom. Freedom has its limitations, and you will recall that the National Assembly had to throw out a bill that was proposing recognition of gay, lesbian, or other such persons with sexual orientation. This other time, this editorial is centering about the request for the Corporate Affairs Commission to register a lesbian group. And the editorial is saying that they are in support of the position of the court, which says, which had categorically ruled, as you read there, that such an association is not only inimical to African and Nigerian cultures, it is antithetical to tradition, religion, and the normal practices in our society. And the court actually said that such a law such initiative is protected under what is described as Section 45, subsection 11 of the 1999 Constitution that protects public morality. You cannot legislate for such things that. So the society law predicates upon activities in society to organize the conduct of person in the society. When there is a conduct that the society and its cultural practices and norms abhors, there's no essence in bringing that by way of law. And that's why the National Assembly itself rejected it and is confirmed by the position of the court.
All right, Baya Toby, that's the much that we can take. But I just wanted to draw attention to a brief story. It's on page 34 of Daily Trust newspaper. You might not be able to upload that on the screen for you to see. It's a story from around the world. Now, it says this is from Germany. Teenager loses driving license after 49 minutes. Now, a teenager lost his driver's license just 49 minutes after getting it. A 18-year-old was returning from a successful driving test when officers checked his car with a laser speed gun. He was clocked traveling almost twice the speed limit at 95 kilometers per hour in a 50 kilometer per hour zone. According to the police, some things last forever, others not for an hour.
That's right.
He was celebrating his new license and lost it
immediately. All right, Baya Tobe, we'd like to thank you for being with us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll go to our topics for discussion.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria.
Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Madam. Brought us as usual.
As usual.
For the three put
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
Welcome. You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, you're welcome back, but if you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria, and we are live for the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, on Tuesday, the 27th of November, Nigerians in Diaspora will converge in Abuja for the maiden edition of the Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit.
Now, to provide relevant information on all there is about the summit, we have joining us now in our Abuja studio the director of the Nigerian Diaspora Alumni Network, Dr. Badiwa Adejugbe Williams. She is also the general manager, Abuja Film Village, and also the coordinator of the summit. Welcome and thanks for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Also here in our Abuja studios, we have Theodore Safia, Head of Diaspora Affairs Department, Directorate of Technical Cooperation in Africa. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right, and the third guest that we have with us this morning on this subject matter is Kachi Okezie. He's Chief Executive Officer, CTP International Consulting, that's of course covers the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, as well as Nigeria. Gentlemen and lady, pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria today.
Good morning.
Let's begin with Dr. Adejugbe Williams, who of course, as introduced by Joy, is the coordinator of the summit. What is the summit all about?
Thank you. That's a very good question. The Nigerians in diaspora who have returned to Nigeria and contributing their quota to national development has come together to organize the summit for the office of the SSA to the President on Foreign Affairs and Diaspora. The reason why is we've been keeping track of how remittances are coming into Nigeria. And we also see what's going on in the nation, and with the office of the SSA doing all she can to move diaspora engagement to get everybody to work together for the betterment of the nation, we decided to organize this investment summit. The main idea is to let people know that when you incorporate and you involve and you engage Nigerians in diaspora in the development of the nation, especially in investing in the people, then of course, definitely the economy will improve. And we're also very much encouraged by what's going on with the administration, with the ease of doing business in Nigeria. So we are really, really trying to impact, most especially the private sector, so we can harness the remittances so that we can actually also create jobs and sustainable income for our people.
Thank you very much. Let's go quickly to Theodore, sitting very close to me here. Now, we hear that over 200 Nigerians in the diaspora are expected to attend this summit. What are some of the issues that you're likely to tackle in the course of your conversation with Nigerians and the government?
Well, you see, Nigerians have always been told they should come and be part of the growth of the economy and national development here in the country. But they have their fears, they have their worries, and that's part of what we're looking to tackle at this summit. The fact that they talk about insecurity, they talk about the legal process, they talk about safety of their investments, and these are issues that we have looked to tackle at this summit through the involvement of all the relevant agencies of government that have a role to play in that regard. Of course, like Dr. Williams has said, there's been a lot the government has been doing to try and encourage business. Registration time for companies, for instance, now is incomparable to what it used to be. And these are things that we are going to let those of them who are coming from outside understand that Nigeria today is ripe for doing business. We have the Chinese coming in here to do things. We have the Russians coming in here to do things. Even the South Africans are coming here to do things. Everywhere you have ShopRite exploding. We're our own Nigerians who have more than enough capacity, knowledge, connections to get involved here. And that's the kind of thing we want to engage with them on.
All right, thank you. Right, Mr. Kachi Okezio, let's get your own take on this. What is the outlook for the participation at the summit, and how long do we expect the summit to last? Is it a one-day show?
No, it's a 3-day event, and thanks for having us here. The summit starts on the 27th. It will be at the banquet hall of the presidential villa. It will run on the 27th, the 28th, and then close with a gala dinner and awards and recognition night on the 3rd day. It's structured such that it's not going to be a talk shop. The idea is that we've done enough of those. We've done enough of talk shops. The whole concept is really business matchmaking. It's more like a B2B format that this is going to take. And so what we're looking to do is to get deals done at this summit. And we are very hopeful that a few deals will be done. There are actually right now as we speak, to our surprise really, more potential investors who have expressed interest than the opportunities back home. That to me has been a first surprise in this. And so it's a very positive surprise. Our initial anxiety was whether we were going to find enough people to commit to investing in Nigeria. And when we've asked those who have expressed interest in investing in Nigeria, 3 things have been said. One, they are more interested in smaller, high-growth companies, new startups. A good number, majority, are interested in agricultural and sort of agro-allied businesses. And then the third one is that they are looking for businesses that will not necessarily deliver returns on the balance sheet, but that will deliver returns off balance sheet in terms of development, growth, creating opportunities. So you can see that the motivation of the investors that we have attracted so far is more like trying to assist in the growth agenda of the government. So if you remember, the economic and growth plan of the economic recovery and growth plan of the government has focused on creating jobs at sustainable levels. And this has been the very first good news coming out so far.
Okay, thank you very much. Back again to the coordinator of the summit. Tell us some more about who the other participants are, other than those who are coming from abroad.
Okay. Majority that we are targeting in Nigeria are, as Mr. Kachi said, those small, medium enterprise businesses. You know, we have so many who have submitted projects already. We're encouraging more people to submit their projects because, as he said, there are more investors who are coming. So we're looking at the private sector to come in and bring their projects and submit their projects for consideration. Some people also expressed interest in PPP projects. So government definitely will be there. We're covering about 10 sectors, and government representatives from each sector will be there to let the public know what they have, what the policies are, what the incentives are in those sectors. So we're really encouraging private and public sectors to come in. But really, we want to focus on the private sector.
Now, since you're talking about encouraging more investors to come in, I want to know, are you on ground here, or do you have foot soldiers who have been working for you to ensure that you get the right people to this summit?
We are all on ground. So that's the thing. NIDAN members are spread out all over Nigeria, and we're publicizing this highly. The Office of the SSA is doing her best to also publicize this so people would know what the diaspora can contribute. So definitely we're here. We have NTA supporting us. We have some other media houses supporting us. So that's the thing, just to get the words out there. And a lot of people are also passing the messages to their colleagues. People are calling us. Somebody told me, say, just come. We'll be more than happy to have you.
Okay, just a point of lingering curiosity. My question is going to Mr. Theodore Sefia. You find, particularly at the subnational level, state governors who are almost frequently traveling abroad in search of foreign investors, and you ask yourself, if the Nigerians themselves are there, how come there seems to have been no effort in tapping into those potential sources of investment as Nigerians?
Well, I wouldn't say that there has been no success in the effort of tapping into it. Quite a number of Nigerians, quite a few of them, are doing things back here. They are getting involved. They have investments. They have businesses they're doing. One of the things that we realized was that a lot of this is not on a structured basis. And because it's not structured, because there is no oversight on what is going on, you tend to have the challenges that deter others. So that is part of why this is going on, to try and create a structure that will enable you to come in at whatever level, be it local government, be it states, be it at the federal level, to come in and do something and know that you have somebody watching over it to ensure that your investment yields the desired goal. Now, one of the things you must bear in mind about the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan of the federal government is that it aims to work with the state and local governments. It cannot be done in isolation. And if we are tapping into that for the purpose of saying building investments by the diaspora here, which will trickle down. We've invited all the state governors, for instance. They have been invited to be part of this program. We intend to be able to take people to local governments to see investment opportunities that are showcased from those local governments at the summit. So definitely there has been some activity going on. You've had, let us take some of the health visits you have from the diaspora. You have them coming regularly. They don't come to Abuja, they don't come to Lagos. They go to the local governments. Now that is volunteerism, just assisting. But they also have some of them who have been able to start helping to set up clinics at the local government level. But the problem now becomes, how do they maintain it? How does it go? Where does it fit into our database of development indices? These are some of the challenges we have that we're hoping will be addressed from this summit.
Thank you very much, Theodore. Let's go quickly to Kachi. In your opening statement, I like the fact that you say you're going to take the B2B approach at this summit. Now, I want to find out, apart from Nigerians in the diaspora who are coming for this summit, are you getting foreign investors involved in the process?
Yes, we are. We are. Even though the summit is, designed, with the diaspora in mind, this is the ideal profile of the investors we were targeting. I like the question that you asked earlier to my colleague. There are, both in Europe and in North America, you now have a rapidly growing demographic of Nigerians who have expanded their disposable income, who have paid off their mortgages, who have paid off school fees, who have now entered the sort of almost approaching the departure lounge of life. They have money, they have equity, you know, stuck in those societies. And a lot of them, their dying wish is to put something back in Nigeria. Their children may not be, I'm talking about second generation, may not be too keen to come right now because of the way Nigeria might look to some of them. But those that have come, and we have evidence of this tracked through our NIDAN projects, those that have come have been completely motivated because they have shattered the myth about what the media out there portrays Nigeria to be like. So when they have the experience, they come back. And so what their parents at that generation are trying to do is to build something that builds an economic bridge between the wealth that they have built outside of Nigeria and the social commitment that they have as people who come from this part of the world. That's on the one side. And the other side, of course, is that what we're doing is not new. We're not reinventing the wheel. It's been done in China. China does it all the time. Ethiopia in Africa has built amazing infrastructure using the Diaspora bond. You find the same thing in India, in Spain, in Ireland. These are countries that have grown and built their economies using diaspora models, and have a lot of them to report. You now have recently the post-accession Europe. You now have countries of the former Eastern Bloc, Bulgaria, Romania, Czech Republic, who migrated west during if you remember how Tony Blair opened up the opportunities and invited them. They came in there, they went into the tourism and hospitality sector, they went into construction. They have established the same sort of thing in Europe across East and West axis, similar to what we're trying to do here. So we've got the people, they've got the reason to invest. It's easier to encourage or attract the Nigerian, first generation Nigerian, who has funds to invest. It's easier to attract them to invest in Nigeria because they're familiar with the risks already than to go out, like you said, some of the governors do, to go and look for foreigners to come and invest. What makes you a foreigner? So I'm British myself, for example, but I'm more Nigerian than anything else. And so if you invite me, where will I fit in your records, in your statistics? Will you have invited a foreign investor, or will you have invited a Nigerian who is originally from here? So that is the issue, and it's a very interesting question that you raised.
All right, Kachi, thanks a lot. Again, let's go to Dr. Williams. What are the sectoral focus areas for the summit? You talked about 10, but you didn't itemize them.
Okay, that's a very good one. All the information actually are also online, but our predominant focus, we have agribusinesses, we have healthcare, we have education, training, and workforce development. We have infrastructure and real estate. We have extractive industries. We have hospitality, entertainment, tourism, all encompassed. We actually clustered them into 4 major areas, but all these are there.
Okay, well let me return, Joy. I want to return to Kachi Okezie, and then, of course, Theodore can also take advantage of the opportunity of responding to the question. One phenomenon that has lingered for many years on account of the news flow patterns that we have around the world is the perception that Nigerians abroad have of Nigeria because of their sources of news and the frequent bombardment they receive in terms of bad news. And sometimes in their mentality, they think like foreigners who have never left their immediate environment. They say that everything you find here is barbaric and so on and so forth. Couldn't there be also some focal point of seeking, whether to invest or otherwise of interacting with those who are abroad, alternative news or alternative facts to the daily fare that they are fed with abroad?
Good question. Very good question. That takes me back to about 10 years ago. I think your chief executive then was one of my speakers at a conference that I organized personally with an award, the Millennium Award that I won in the UK, comes with some funding. I used that funding to organize a conference in partnership with Cardiff University School of Journalism on this point. It was called the Reporting Africa Conference. At that program, at that conference, these issues were addressed. The big issue is perception, and that's all it is. Insurance, the insurance industry relies on that perception to rank you in terms of risk. But we do little, actually, on our part to address that perception. We feed into it, and we sustain and help it to regurgitate. And now, it's an ongoing thing. One of the things we suggested at the time, one of the outcomes of the conference, was to set up a kind of monitoring unit, to look at, to track coverage of Africa as a whole. Now, we have also discovered that whilst we were complaining and crying about this, we weren't the only ones. Other communities, ethnic minority communities in the UK, suffered the same fate. But what was different was that they approached it differently, in a more proactive manner. We tended to either allow ourselves to be subsumed onto that or fought back in a manner that was not strategic. And I think that the question you raise, the question you raise goes to the heart of why we are having to do this. One of the key things you need to address when you're asking somebody to come and invest is to address the issue of the crisis of confidence. How do they feel about this place? They need to have some kind of assurances. And those assurances come from what is happening in your environment, what government is saying, what public officials are saying, and what people are doing. There is no doubt at all that the fact is that what you find in terms of the experience when you do come to Nigeria, I have children, teenage children overseas. When they come here, when they came here for the first time, it was shocking for them that they couldn't recognize the place that was so presented in a very negative manner. And, why do I want to live here? This place is beautiful. This place is warm. The people are nice. But that's not the image you get out there. So we need to be conscious of that. And I think the media has a role to play there.
Theodore?
Yes. I'll take it from where he ended and point out that one of the things we need to realize is the fact that without strategic thinking and planning, we will not achieve the goals we want to have. Our mindset as Africans is different from the kind of mindset they have out there. As Kachi said, is largely driven by perception. We are more often not driven by perception, but by what we perceive to be our own reality. Now, one of the steps I know that had been taken was to take NTA international. NTA was to be made accessible everywhere in the world. And so it should have been a medium for providing that alternative version of what we are and who we are. The question is, do people really buy into the narrative? Do they believe what they are listening to? And if not, why? These are some of the things we need to look at. And
as you are speaking now, you're being watched elsewhere around the world, other than in Nigeria.
I agree. That's right. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So that is part of what helps to begin to change that narrative. As Kachi said, I had my nieces come over. They are in their 20s already. And they came over and one of them didn't want to go back. It was like, this is beautiful. But that's not the image.
So, all right, now, part of the goals of the summit, Joy, will be, this is beautiful, put your money in here.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And also, to further elaborate on that, when we had foreigners come to observe and just see what they want to do in Nigeria about investment, some of them were coming, we've been warned by the State Department, Nigeria is terrible, we need security, please make sure you have security waiting for us. We had a guest who came a few years ago. When he got to Nigeria, I was like, security, for what? Even took the car and was driving on the road. We went into the jungle areas. It was free. So this is not what he heard about Nigeria. Upon coming to Nigeria, I now really saw what was on ground, which is what we are saying. Come on ground and see what's going on. My children are here. They don't want to go back.
So that leads me to the next question to you. You are the general manager of the Abuja Film Village. You know how strong the entertainment industry. How are you using the film village to reenact the true picture of Africa?
Excellent question, because the entertainment industry in Nigeria has exploded globally. Initially when we were growing up, things we knew about other countries were things we saw on films. Now people are seeing what's going on in Nigeria based on the Nigerian films that are out there. Non-Nigerians are watching Nigerian films. So we're encouraging the sector. As the Abuja Film Village, we have different mandates. One is to make Abuja the capital of entertainment excellence in Africa. The other one is to build the capacity of the entertainment industry so that their products will generate revenue, you know, that will compete internationally. So we're doing this by building the requisite technical skills so that they can make films that are world standard. And then we get to tell our own stories, not somebody telling our stories for us, as opposed to what we've been used to watching internationally. So that's the whole essence of that.
All right. You say you want to make Abuja the entertainment capital of Africa. Yes. I'm sure that you have a mountain to climb because Lagos is already also having that. So that would be some very healthy competition. I would like to thank all our guests for being with us on the program. Don't forget the second part of our conversation still has to do with the diaspora and in fact how they can channel their energies and intellect into national development. Aspects of what we've discussed now will also come up. Dr. Badewa Adejugbe Williams, she's the General Manager of Abuja Film Village, as we earlier introduced, and coordinator of the summit. And by the way, she's the director of the Nigerian Diaspora Alumni Network. What does that mean? Diaspora alumni, those who have come back, is it?
Yes, those who have come back, either completely 100% back, or maybe they still have families there, but they have businesses here.
All right. As the Nigerians would say, one leg in, one leg out.
Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. We also would like to appreciate Theodore Sefia. He's head of Diaspora Affairs Department, Directorate of Technical Cooperation in Africa. Sefia, thanks for being around. As well as Kachi Okezie, is a lawyer, by the way, and Chief Executive Officer, CTP International Consulting, covering the UK, UAE, and here in Nigeria. Okezie, thanks a lot for being around.
Thank you so much.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll continue with our conversation.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA. Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria to kickstart the second leg of our conversation on Nigeria diaspora and national development. Let's take this background report from our correspondent, Kunle Adeyeye.
Nigerians in diaspora have excelled in virtually every field of human endeavor, ranging from medicine, automobile, academics, and sports, to mention just a few. Through dialogue, interactive meetings, and conferences, the Nigerian government has been able to engage a sizable number of Nigerians in diaspora on how they can make their successes overseas to rub off on national development. This led to the establishment of the Nigerians in Diaspora Organization and Nigerian National Volunteer Service as platforms for diaspora engagement. One of the key features of the Nigerian government's interaction with those in diaspora is the terms of engagement policy. Successive governments have paid considerable attention to the Nigerian diaspora as a distinct community of citizens, utilizing the Nigerian diaspora using the auspices of platforms such as Nigeria in Diaspora Organization has facilitated high level of visits by government officials for the purpose of attracting investors, exploring trade opportunities, and acquiring modern technology. Governments at all levels have employed the skills and expertise of foreign-based professionals and have appointed some to significant positions of authority. Open and interactive sessions have been held across Nigerian embassies between the Nigerian government and Nigerian diaspora during visits to some countries, which have led to the resolution of diplomatic rows and other challenges facing Nigerians abroad that otherwise could have led to national embarrassment. The National Assembly has equally been proactive as it has supported the diaspora through the Foreign Affairs Committee and the Senate and the Diaspora Committee in the House of Representatives. It will be recalled that on February 27, 2013, Chatham House hosted a meeting between the Nigerian National Assembly's Joint Committee on the Review of the 99 Constitution and United Kingdom-based Nigerians in order to provide them the opportunity of contributing to the debate. With the establishment of the National Diaspora Commission and the appointment of Abike Dabiri Erewa by President Muhammadu Buhari as the chairman and chief executive of the commission, it has become evident that the present administration is resolute in strengthening its relationship with Nigerians in diaspora and translates the synergy to national development. Has the synergy with Nigerians in diaspora yielded the needed results? How can the gains so far be consolidated and improved upon? Do Nigerians in the diaspora have voting rights? How many Nigerians are in the diaspora? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will provide answers shortly.
All right, Kunle Adeyeye, thank you very much for that elaborate background report. We have guests, of course, who are with us in the studios here, as well as at remote network centers and also via Skype. First, let's welcome Dauda Abdullahi. He's been a frequent guest on Good Morning Nigeria. He's a member of the board of Nigeria Diaspora Organization in the U.S. Dauda Abdullahi, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Good morning. Thank you.
Okay, and then we're also having one of the guests who was with us when we're taking the first topic is Kachi Okezie. Of course, he's a Nigerian and he's a lawyer, and also he's the chief executive officer of CTP International Consulting, covering the UK, UAE, and Nigeria. Once again, Okezie, a pleasure to have you with us.
Pleasure, sir.
Okay. And from our Lagos Network studios, we have Mr. Festus Umbisiogu. He's a Nigerian industrialist and is based in China from Lagos. If we can see him clearly, you can see him on the right side of the screen. So that's it. Mr. Umbisiogu, pleasure to have you with us on the program. Pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and joining us via Skype from the United Kingdom is Bimbo Folayo, former chairman, Central Association of Nigerians in the UK. Thanks for joining us, Bimbo. Now, we also have joining us via Skype from Atlanta, Engineer Gabriel Ndubisi George. He's an IT enterprise storage architect. Hello, I hope you can hear me. Thanks for joining us.
It's all my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, let's begin this conversation from a conceptual point of view. Namely, now, there is the view that obviously Nigeria is an emerging economy, it's a developing economy. We have a number of challenges, but there is a perception that those challenges are indeed opportunities for investment, opportunities for targeting growth and development. For Nigerians who are out there, how do they perceive Nigeria's national situation and therefore how they might be relevant to facilitating growth and development in the country? Let's begin with Dauda Abdullahi.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you. Well, for those of us members of Nigerians in diaspora out there, in terms of when it comes to the growth in Nigeria, national development and the rest, we look for opportunities in terms of some of our colleagues that we work with there, in terms of bringing in projects. And in doing so, some of the events that we host on a yearly basis, like, for example, the Diaspora Days and the rest, in the past, it used to be a seminar and we just come and talk. But the past 2 years, what we've done is we've made it a project-based event, whereby each continent will bring a project that they will bring it to the grassroots in Nigeria and have it work. For example, ICT training. 2 years ago, we had an ICT training here in Abuja in Guarampa, where about over 200 Nigerians were trained, hands-on, training by professionals that are living in the U.S. mostly, to come in and do a hands-on and training and set them up. So those are some of the type of projects we have. There are other projects that each continent are doing. For example, the Brazilian in our last diaspora, they brought an agro, the Brazilian method of agro to Nigeria with equipment. They are already on ground. They've signed some MOU with the relevant ministries so that they can come and actually provide support and assistance. So we'll continue to look for projects that would benefit Nigeria and enhance some of the growth that they're doing and working with our membership.
Now, still staying with you, despite the challenges in Nigeria, I know that you're based in New Jersey, but you have moved back home and you shuttle between Nigeria and New Jersey. That shows passion, commitment. How many Nigerians in the diaspora are ready to take the step you have taken?
In the last segment, I think there was a conversation to that effect in terms of what happens when I make the decision, or once a Nigerian make a decision to come back, what are some of the things that they have to think? It's all go into plan and making sure when you're coming, you have some check balance and other things that will happen. And for me, coming back to Nigeria is, I've worked there for years, so I'm retired. And my passion is to come back and give back to Nigeria. And I can't give back staying in the U.S. I have to be on ground in Nigeria. So I've been here for a few years now, trying to help in terms of mentoring young kids, in terms of showing them the right direction and the right road and the right. So for me, it's easy to come. And I don't know about other Nigerians. I think it goes more on sensitization for people to understand. And I think there was a discussion about the media helping out and the rest, and it's how Nigeria is portrayed out there. But for us that have been coming back and forth and the rest, it's a sacrifice because Nigeria is home. So we have to come back and develop the country together.
All right, Dawud Abdullahi, thank you very much. Let's bring in again Kachi Okezie. In terms of seeking to tap into the challenges as opportunities for investment, opportunities for engagement with various governmental sectors, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to put in your money, but it does in terms of ideas. So this is a blueprint for some of the challenges I believe that we have. If you look at the various areas and also look at the various tiers of government, we have a major challenge, for instance, in Nigeria with local government. Our local governments are not working. We have some issues at the state level and also at the federal level. Health, education, infrastructure. So how, in the perception of the diaspora Nigerian, can this be modulated into positive opportunities?
Very good question. I'll never forget an interview I had here a few years ago. I think it was Gabriel Adu, who used to present a program called The Diaspora.
That's right.
I featured on that program a few times. You also had one called The Platform, and I did that as well years ago. Those are the very questions we were trying to tackle. You see, I think that it goes back to perception again. This time, not perception in terms of how we are seen from outside. I am now talking about perception, about how you, the Nigerian at home, views or perceives your brother outside. It's a big problem. There's a very big cultural issue about how diasporans are perceived by people here.
How?
Oh, yes. One as a threat, potential threat, okay, coming to, you know, you think you know better than us, you think, you know, that's there. We deal with it every day. Now, I think that your success in what you just laid out will depend to a great extent on how you choose to perceive your diaspora. In India, they have the same problem as well, but they've not allowed it to stop them. But they see the diaspora as an asset, national asset. China sees the diaspora as a national asset. Ireland goes without saying completely. And these are nations that have been extremely successful. So if you see your diasporan brother or relative who's been out there and you don't envy him. You don't think he's coming to displace you. He's coming to take your job or whatever. We come to complement what's here. We don't come to compete. That is, we need to address, that's the default setting.
That's a serious challenge. How do we get to change that narrative? Because I hear that from so many Nigerians
that's right,
in the diaspora.
Number one, I'm trying to, you see, one of the problems we face here is there's what you cannot measure, you cannot manage. We try to make moves, we try to measure these things, we try to do without data. So the starting point is I'm trying to, with a group of others, to sort of get some data to validate this position. It's there as anecdotal, but we need to sort of concretize it into some data that you can look at, perceptions of diasporans by people here. We have a problem in the society as a whole. Look at the way our society is structured. We're homogeneous, we're incestuous, we breed the same. You have, we don't have a society that's open to people coming in. We don't. It doesn't matter how you want to look at it. The data says we don't. What do I mean by that? Where in your public services do you employ foreigners? I think Central Bank of Nigeria is probably one of the biggest employers in the financial services sector. It has about probably over 6,500 staff, not one expatriate. Many others. Just look around you. NTA, how many do you have? None.
Why would you need an expatriate?
Exactly. And this is the question that you get. Why would we, when we have them here? That's why we're in the problem that we have. Why would the UK, for example, go and recruit their central bank governor from Canada? They threw it open to the whole world, but they got their governor from Canada. In the UAE, 90% of the population are foreigners, and they're comfortable. Doesn't affect them. They're better for it. Every other society you look at, that is the situation. Here, we have this inbuilt default anxiety about foreigners. That's the beginning of our problem. If you want to change something, you look at, that's what you call benchmarking, basically. You look at what those successful models have done, and you copy it. I've given you the UAE, I've given you the UK, look at other countries. Nigerians go to those countries and hold high positions, and they excel. But you come here, so you have to start viewing your diaspora as a real asset to national development that can contribute and is contributing to your GDP. For example, now, again, another area where this manifests, the diasporans don't have a vote. But for many years, their remittances were not public until one individual who left the World Bank decided to make it public. All those years, we always believed the lie that foreign aid was the be-all and end-all, because those who were giving you that aid were giving you that aid with a view to using it to control and dominate you. So if you fell out of line in your behavior, they threatened you with aid, and you behaved. But when you actually opened up the statistics, the foreign aid was about 9% of FDI. Remittances were about 72% of FDI. But you didn't know that. So that information was kept from you so that foreign aid would be used as a big stick to whip you into line.
All right, Kachi, thank you very much. On the aspect relating to being more exogamous, if you like, getting more foreigners in, perhaps we should begin with our directors, producer, and then our cameramen, if they see us very clearly. I mean, they are all... I hope they can frame a better shot of us after I have said this. But let's go back. We've kept two of our guests on standby via Skype. Sometimes we run into challenges, and it's very small hours, particularly for the guest who's joining us from Atlanta. That should be some 6 hours behind, 7 hours rather, behind us at this time. Engineer Gabriel Undubuisi George is an IT enterprise storage architect. He was introduced earlier. Engineer Gabriel Undubuisi George, just before we drill down into the details of perhaps what you would do with regard to IT, again, let's still deal with the conceptual issue. What barriers do we need to overcome mentally in terms of being more receptive to diaspora involvement in Nigeria's economic growth and development?
Well, that's a wonderful question, and many thanks to the last speaker, Dr. Okuze. If I may piggyback on what is just addressed, I think the fundamental issue we have, we've run into as diasporans trying to deal with our home country, is essentially what is really trying to capture. If anyone recalls, my organization that I belong to, for example, the Nigerians in Diaspora organization, it's not really, if we look back at the conceptual framework of the organization, starting with past President Olusegun Obasanjo, it was essentially fundamentally designed to be a pool of intellectual resource for our nation. And what could be wrong with doing that is that if we came here and found that there were so many professional Nigerians moving things in the United States, for example, and it felt that if you could, ginger us into building a one unified platform, that could be a big win for Nigeria. And that could be a good building block, for our national development. And that's how we've evolved over the years. But to the gentleman's point, the biggest, problem we faced as diasporans is, getting that love, if you like, from our government. The very most basic thing which we encourage, which from my perspective is actually what I would call a leadership 101, is getting our government to be more of an encouragement. There's clearly nothing they can offer most diasporans. Very many of us are very established in our different rights and domains, But what we're asking is if they could take the public podium, the public platform. If they can't say anything else, let them be more encouraging. Let them, put out, words out there that sort of, unifies, that brings people together rather than tearing them apart. Because for many of us, all we're doing is nothing but selfless service. I personally have been to or attended over 9 or 10 Diaspora Day conferences in Nigeria. Nobody ever paid for me to get there, right? Why would I be doing that? Because I really truly care. So if we can have that soft landing again, not on infrastructure stuff, but on policy that essentially caters to the diaspora discourse, policies that seeks to embolden the diaspora discourse. Because what we do as an organization, for example, is essentially directing or brokering foreign direct investments into Nigeria for many years. I mean, the least we could do as a people is to begin to see us for what we really are, a resource, and a grandiose one for that matter. A resource that, if properly tapped into, could be a great win for the country. And, we can't overemphasize this very important topic. That is one way, just from a conceptual aspect, build that strong relationship with our counterparts in Nigeria. But it starts with a government policy. And now I may say that hopefully the establishment of the Diaspora Commission could be a good stepping stone on that. Perhaps we'll now have, a conduit to really harness all these resources within diaspora. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George. Now, apart from the bottlenecks in the system in Nigeria, how united are Nigerians in the diaspora on the issue of coming back to Nigeria to contribute to national development? Let's start with where you are in Atlanta.
Absolutely. So when we talk about how united, okay, so Nigeria as a people, obviously we're a very diabolic society. I don't think what's important is how united we are. I think what's important is building a structure that essentially puts everybody, in line with one vision. Okay, so if that structure is in place, every one of us, we all come together using these platforms to, discuss, different investment opportunities for Nigeria, different programs within the diaspora that caters to, directing all these, resources to Nigeria. That has been done over the years and continues to be done. Our role is not to take credit for one, this or that, but what to your point, to your question, what we're doing is that every one of us are yearning, we're all thirsty to be plugged in to national development. And the only way we can do that is to have that, if you like, the right vibe coming from our country, from our leaders. Let them just be able to say, hey, guys, we appreciate you. We encourage you just to be part of building this nation in the little things you do. Just start alone is a good, because very many of us, like I said before, are all comfortable. So for myself, for example, I've been an IT veteran for the last 19, 20 years. Obviously, I'm saturated. I'm part of the American, what you may call the corporate America. There's nothing more that I can literally seek for in America. But I'm yearning to be part of, building something that can be sustainable in Nigeria. But I would want to see a society that at the very best, at the very least, is civil, is geared towards, real progressive agenda, progressive ideas, a collective vision, as opposed to everybody just being very dismissive of their diaspora community. That in itself hurts, and I am very, very, disappointed that some of these things are coming from our leaders when they can do a whole lot better than that.
All right, Engineer Gabriel, George, thank you very much. We'll return to you in the course of the conversation. We're getting pressed for time, but let's go again via Skype this time to the UK, where we'll be joined by Bimbo Afolayan, who is the former chair of the Central Association of Nigerians in the UK. Bimbo, of course, you've heard the other guests, and still on the question of how to have a better mental reception of the diaspora assets that Nigeria has, and then canalize those assets into our growth and development.
Thank you very much. After Dr. Okezie and Gabriel Ndubuisi spoke, I felt like I shouldn't talk anymore because they almost captured all the essence of what we're talking about. But let me look at it from a different perspective now. When I was chairman of the Central Association of Nigerians in the UK, and I was in that position for about 5 years, I realized, after interacting with over 250 organizations of Nigerian origin, the medical body, the engineering forum, the nursing association, Kaduna State Association, Imo State students, different organizations, we realized that majority of Nigerians that live in diaspora, particularly in the UK, always want to go back home after several years. Just like Gabriel said just now, when you get a certain level in your career in the UK and you've bought your property and you've reached the peak of your career, the next thing you're looking at is taking something back to your country. And one thing that is so much in abundance within the Nigerian community that I have experienced is the love of their motherland. So Nigerians in diaspora so much love their country that even, let me give you an example, only just 2 days ago, I was invited by some groups that want to just go to Nigeria and cook food during Christmas. And they say, all we want to do is just go to a place where people are not fed and we just want to start cooking food. And, and they showed me videos of the ones they've done in the past and all of that stuff. So when I was chairman of CANU, I then realized that people always want to go back home. But unfortunately, many of them come to Nigeria and they rush back after about 1 or 2 years because of one issue or the other. So we decided to set up what we call the Nigerian Diaspora Direct Investment Summit. And we've been having summits for the last 6 years. In fact, our first summit, so that you know how interested Nigerians are in the affairs of their country, our first summit had over 2,000 people, many of them bringing different business proposals. And the way we structured it at the time was to say, okay, why do you go to Nigeria and rush back? We want to really get to the root of the matter, to make this very practical for you. You want to go back to your country. We will invite the policymakers, we invite the governors, the ministers, or the director generals, even invite some businesses to London to come and pitch to you. And those businesses and the government officials came to London, they pitched to the diaspora audience. We then realized that some of them came as far as, the whole of Europe and even Ghana. We had people that came from Ghana who are Nigerians in diaspora. They came with businesses, and many of them are now back to Nigeria doing very good business. Now, the major problem we've had with mobilizing the diaspora is that of fragmentation. And that fragmentation, just like Gabriel said, sometimes it's not actually from the diaspora. it's from Nigeria itself. And it's because maybe, perhaps, now that we have the Diaspora Commission, perhaps now we will have a vision that we can rally the entire Nigerian community to align their aspirations and their energy towards this aspiration. And I was looking at statistics yesterday. I realized that of the $37 billion that was remitted to Africa, remittances alone, about 23 billion came to Nigeria. Can you believe that? 23 billion came to Nigeria. So Nigeria is number 1 in Africa. Nigeria is number 6 in terms of remittances all over the world. And also looking at the statistics, I then realized that Liberia is actually, the diaspora of Liberia is contributing 25% of its GDP. So Nigeria's contribution at the moment is about 8%. If you look at our GDP, about 378 billion or whatever. That's about 378 billion Nigerian GDP for 2017. The Nigerians in diaspora contribute about 23 billion. That was last year, and it's set to go up. So the problem we've really had is that, and we also found that the NDDIS, which I represent, also discovered that Nigerians in the UK have about 25 billion pounds sitting in UK banks, earning £1, £2 interest rates. And some of these resources could be tapped to bring them back to Nigeria to set up businesses. Now, I would have been very happy when this the summit seminar coming up in Abuja, if there was not so much of fragmentation, if we were talking to each other, perhaps they would have reached out to us. We would have given them, because we should be the baseline for you starting the first one. The people that have done about 6 for the last 6 years should be the baseline upon which you're starting. So there's no point starting afresh. So if you bring us in to discuss with you, we can then tell you some of the issues that we have. And one of the issues that Nigerians in diasporas have always had is that of talk shops. So they're tired. They don't want to go to talk shops anymore. They want to go into things that are practical. And then we can also now give you ideas on why Nigerians in diasporas are not mobilizing all of those funds back to Nigeria to create employment. And from what we've seen, from some of the figures I've given, you can see that Nigerians in diaspora can almost turn things around in Nigeria if they are fully encouraged. The problem we've had is that things are not properly structured yet, and hopefully we will get there. Now that we have Abike Dabiri in that office, and she has a lot of experience with the diaspora, perhaps now we will get there, we will be able to formulate policies and reach out to Nigerians so that they can contribute more. But then we need a change of mindset, particularly from Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Bimbo Folayan in the UK, for sharing from your wealth of experience. We'll come back to you in the course of our conversation. But for now, let's head quickly to Lagos and get the views of Mr. Festus Mbisogu, who is a Nigerian industrialist in China. I'm sure you've been following the conversation and making reference to Bimbo, who just spoke now. You know, the crux of all he has said so far for me is that there's this issue of fragmentation that we need to deal with. Give us a sense of what's going on in China with the Nigerian diaspora.
Okay, thank you for having me. First of all, I want to appreciate the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the initiative for setting up Diaspora Commission in Nigeria. As of me, I have that very passion for our national development, and these thoughts came to me over maybe 10 years ago. I have been residing in China for 14 good years, and having lived in China for 14 good years, I discovered that part of the items or products being used in our dear country, Nigeria, let me just be average. About 70% of what Nigerians consume is from China, 70 to 80%. And this gave me a lot of worry when I was in China, because I'm into shipping business. And I start thinking home. And when the idea came to me to think of what to do, and I then go into one of the former minister who came to China and interfaced with Nigerians in China. And he pleaded for Nigerians in diaspora to repatriate their funds back home. He highlighted what the present administration is doing. And I heeded to that very call by coming down to Nigeria here to set up my industry that is into production of so many items. But I want to let us know that in China, so many of us have that financial muscle, have that financial capacity to site factories in Nigeria here. But there is a big challenge. And this is the challenges I want the federal government to address. Statistics have shown that a unit of a product being manufactured in Nigeria, if the cost is 400 naira in Nigeria, the cost could be 300 naira in China, and probably in Ghana, 200 naira. And I took time to investigate this. I discovered there is a problem, and that problem lies on steady power supply. Steady power supply. I remember when the former minister approached me, even the current minister, Chief Awudu, approached me and said, first off, expand your factory. I told them the challenges I'm having. I told them, yes, the president is doing so very well, the minister of power is doing so very well, but there is a big challenge. In my factory, where I started my industry, it's too difficult for me to have a steady power supply. Very, very difficult. And it's too discouraging for Nigerians in diaspora that want to come back home to invest. I also told them that in my factory, I have about 3 generators, I have over 2,000 kVA that runs on over 600 liters of diesel per day. And it runs morning and night. These are the factors that may prevent Nigerians in diaspora from not coming back home to invest. But I thank God that the present administration is working so hard. The Minister of Power is working so hard. I learned that the power has increased to 7,000 megawatts. But I expect them to do more because it's a big discouraging. I also want us to know that Nigerians in diaspora is doing a lot, apart from my own business I'm doing in Nigeria. Another problem, again, I found that we are having is accessibility to the present government, probably the minister, the governors, or those in authorities. I have, last 4 years, out of 2013, I came in here with over 21 investors. And I found it difficult assessing governors. I found it difficult assessing ministers. And these investors, some of them are into agriculture, some of them are into mining, some of them are into power, some of them are into so many things. And I was able to see only the governor of Ogun State, Imo State, and Delta, and the rest of them. And other people that they wanted to see, they could not see them. But I want to praise Mr. President for setting up this. That's why I said I'm so happy for him for setting up this Diaspora Commission, because through it, Abike David is well experienced. He has been visiting so many countries. He has been interfacing with us. Some of the missions overseas, some of these investors find it difficult to approach them. But for us residing in abroad, they have that one-on-one interface, one-on-one discussion with us. They know the potentials in Nigeria. They know Nigeria is the giant of Africa. They know Nigeria has the population. They know that Nigeria is a virgin land. They know that a lot happens in terms of business opportunities. But they need us to help them to bring them to Nigeria. And now that we have this commission, it will be very easy for us to reach out to the government through this channel and convey to government what these guys are up to and what they want to do in their country. That's a question that was put to the guests before us here. When you ask them, why is it that so many governors are going to overseas to woo investors, why we have so many Nigerians in diaspora? What I think I should say on that is this. Look, I have witnessed over, let's say, 150 MOU signed in China for over 10 good years. And after signing this MOU, the government, the minister or the governor or the director will go back home. Nobody follows up on those MOUs. But with this setting up of this diaspora, with the wisdom and initiative of Abike Dabire, he can have a kind of connectivity, a channel of communication to all these various countries where Nigerians reside or where Nigerians have so much interest. As you know, Nigeria is the third or the second largest trade partner with China. So he can set up a kind of a committee or a link man over there in all this country to follow up on this MOU. After signing this MOU, these investors, I'm talking out of experience, these investors find it difficult to go to have an appointment with the embassy, find it difficult kind of getting visa to China. But once this connectivity between us and this diaspora that have been set up, I think it will go well for us here in the country.
Okay, Festus Mbisiogwu, thank you very much there for your comments. We have a torrent of tweets that have come in. Joy and I will roll through them so that we can have the opportunity of also ventilating the views of our viewers. This is coming from Iha Ichuku at the tweets. Foreign direct investment creates jobs as investors build new companies. Now, this leads to an increase in income and more purchasing power to the people, which in turn leads to economic boom.
Now, the next one is from Josh, PhD, and he tweets, nice concept, but government should make registration of business simple and easier for starters.
Again, from Ihe Chukwu, now, what are the policies in place to foster economic growth and make use of the opportunities? I hope that the summit, that's the forthcoming summit, will not be one of those show-up events without meaningful impact for the ordinary citizens.
Adamu Umar tweets, the development is a good one and will be beneficial to Nigerians.
Okay, and this is coming from Dele Jack Solomon. Activating diaspora investments for a diversified economy is a welcome development. It will gear the country towards attracting Nigerians in diaspora to look inwards for investment and then, of course, encourage them to channel their funds into the formal sectors.
Comrade Alpha Ngala tweets, what are the contributions of Nigerians living in diaspora towards economic development of Nigeria?
And Sani Michael Amakoje, if we must run a knowledge-driven economy, the input of Nigerians in diaspora should be an integral part in our blueprint as it concerns growing our economy.
Now, the next one is from Dele Jack Solomon Medj, and he tweets, we recommend that an institutional framework should be created by the Nigerian government that will effectively engage the Nigerian diaspora so that the huge potentials therein can be harnessed for national development, because Nigerians outside have a lot to contribute to national progress.
Festus Akimboyo, Nigerians in diaspora are absolutely key to achieving national development, and if properly harnessed, they can help push forward the development of our country. For now, diaspora remittances have helped to reduce poverty, increase investment in health, education, and housing.
One more here from Dele Jack Solomon Medj. The place and role of Nigerians in the diaspora cannot be overemphasized because diaspora remittances per annum is over $22 billion. The federal government must continue to create an enabling environment like the ease of doing business so as to encourage diaspora Nigerians to invest back home.
Now, Ishaq Abdul Hamid tweets, now the summit is a welcome idea. I urge governments at all levels to seize the opportunity to showcase the capacities and requirements of their people in the areas where the diaspora could intervene.
Chris Simeon tweets, national development will be a mirage if the federal government failed to look at the issue of Nigerians in diaspora. Now is the time.
Joseph Aidon tweets, Nigerians in diaspora would have contributed a lot to our national development if only they never left with the mindset of searching for perpetual peace and happiness elsewhere. The Chinese in Nigeria are typical of the patriots scratching their motherland for what Nigerians lack.
And the next one is from Mike Anyoku. There must be a deliberate policy to attract these Nigerians to invest back home. If Nigerians in US alone decide to repatriate their funds, Naira will be stronger overnight. Government must provide a conducive environment like security, infrastructure, ease of doing business, and more.
Nasiru Idris tweets, it would be nice to have successful Nigerians abroad come over and contribute to the nation's growth and development. But can they cope?
And we have the last one from Law Alpha C. There has to be a policy and synergy with diasporans with a political will to co-opt those who are willing to work in Nigeria. Thank you very much for your contributions via our Twitter handle. Kingston.
All right, let's get the closing thoughts of all our guests, 5 of them, beginning with Dauda Abdullahi. A number of points have been raised. What for you will be the way forward or to help to escalate the benefits? Briefly.
Yeah, briefly, I think those are very good questions from the tweet handle. One of the things that keep on coming, questions that I hear in terms of fragment, and Joy raised that question, and the Nigerians in diasporas out there, they have a structure, and as George said in his statement, is that there is a process of how things are being done and brought together. Yeah, in terms of getting the lesson done. The main issue, part of the other issue is that have been highlighted by the tweets people, is when project and other things are being brought and the rest, in terms of a clearance hub where all this item goes in, whereby it's recorded, it's monitored, and it's observed, and the rest is missing in a way, because we have projects that have been working on and the rest, but the follow-up and the monitoring is missing. So with the Diaspora Commission, once it takes off, with this I look at it as a clearinghouse, whereby all this item, initiative, and engagement for the diaspora will be handled accordingly, and also will be documented and followed up.
All right, thank you very much, Abdullah. Let's head over quickly to the United Kingdom. Let's get Bimbo Folayo's closing thoughts.
Okay, so I would say that with the establishment of the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, headed by Mrs. Abike Dabiri, we hope for a better engagement with the Nigerian diaspora in terms of not just diasporans coming back home to set up businesses, but diasporans actually using their platforms to engage other international investors to come back home. Because the role of the diaspora should actually be the role of a bridge, should be like a bridge. We should be the one connecting Nigeria with businesses, new technology, new business models, new skills and knowledge in the diaspora, and to start to see how we can take all of this and bring them back home to Nigeria to create employment. So Nigerians are already doing very well, except that this is not very structured. So we have a lot of people pumping in money into Nigeria on a regular basis. People have so many programs, too many. The voluntary sector, for example, is so engaged, so busy, and they have different plans for women, for young children, for the disabled and all of that stuff. But this is not very regulated. It is not properly structured. So we need to get to a level where, with the establishment of the Diaspora Commission, we can start to engage the diaspora in a way that they also feel fulfilled and they want to do more. So it's about getting them more engaged so as to create better employment opportunities for Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bimbo Folayo in the United Kingdom. Let's go over to Atlanta and get the views of Gabriel Ndubisi George concerning Nigerians in the diaspora and national development. Let's hear it briefly.
Oh, yes, thank you. So, like everybody has really spoken well on this topic, and I think the ultimate vehicle is going to be the Diaspora Commission that is currently being populated, as I understand. I want to use this opportunity, by the way, to appeal to the Executive Director, Abike Dabiru, to be very thoughtful and very methodical in her approach in populating that commission. Because from my perspective, I believe this has been a labor of love for most comrades within the diaspora discourse for many years. And we've come this far, and the worst thing that can happen is messing things up. So I will encourage her to look inwardly into the diaspora community and find policy developers, leaders who are very good in articulating initiatives and programs. Because if we don't get it right at the takeoff, we're probably not going to be able to sustain that commission. So it is essentially critical that they very thoroughly vet all members of that commission, the board of directors and all of that, aside from the bureaucrats that's going to be part of the commission. Because
Oh, well, sorry there, George. We will have to interrupt just to also get the closing thoughts of the last two guests who are with us in the studio here as well as in Lagos. Kachi Okezie, very briefly, what are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, closing thoughts. First of all, it's important that I sort of respond to some of the views expressed by my brother Bimbo. I am aware that we did reach out to him and to his organization, and also bear in mind that Honorable Abike Dabiri, in her role as Senior Special Assistant to the President on this, could not possibly have omitted to do so. So that was done. I can't vouch for the outcome. There must have been some disagreement somewhere, but we did not overlook Bimbo. Then I'm happy that this program has been a broad sweep of some of the issues, and I see much more conversation coming out of this. Two things stand out for me. We have identified that there's a problem with perception, problem with how Nigeria is perceived from outside, but also a problem with how those Nigerians here, Nigerians at home, perceive their diaspora relatives. So I think that success will be achieved beginning with how we manage that perception and build that perception into a strategy. And the coming of the Diaspora Commission is a culmination of years of effort and campaigns. And I have to say that the appointment of Honorable Abike Dabiri, somebody who has been part of the stream, I think is a round hole in a round peg. And so that is in order. We hope to achieve success with this.
All right, thank you very much. But from Umbisiogo in Lagos, I don't know how much time we have left with you. Can you say anything in 10, 15 seconds as your closing thoughts? You made a number of very valuable points already.
Note that the setting up of a Nigerian commission is an answered prayer to us Nigerians in diaspora, because through this very commission, I trust that Abike Dabiri will engage all Nigerians, especially we have good Nigerians, doctors in abroad, we have engineers in abroad, we have so many professionals of a different field of life in abroad. It's so pathetic that over 80% of so many jobs, especially mega projects done in this Nigeria, is being done by foreigners.
All right, that's Festus Umbisiogo. Joining us from our Lagos Network Center is a Nigerian industrialist in China. We'd like to thank you for being with us on the program today. And then from Atlanta, Georgia, we were joined by Gabriel Undubusi. George, it's an IT enterprise storage architect from Atlanta via Skype. Thanks a lot for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria today. We know that it's still small hours where you are, and we hope you can catch some sleep before going to work. We also would like to thank Bimbo Afolayan, former chairman, Central Association of Nigerians in the UK, via Skype from the UK. Thanks a lot for being with us on the program. Also, Dauda Abdullahi, a regular face on Good Morning Nigeria, the member of the board of Nigerian Diaspora Organization in the US, came in from New Jersey and has been doing quite well. Thanks a lot for being with us. Also, Kachi Okezie, who was with us in the first part of the conversation, and also in the second topic that we have discussed. Many matters arising. We'll take those matters up in future. And just one last thought, Joy, before we go. You know, when you see the quantum of remittances by Nigerians in the diaspora running into billions of dollars, I'm just wondering sometimes whether we are not having something like a revolving door. The money comes in, and to the extent that the country is import dependent, the money also goes out, mostly down to China. So how do you domesticate the money? That's the much. That's right. Absolutely. That's the much that we can take on Good Morning Nigeria today. We apologize we were unable to take our complimentary segments. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. We're back tomorrow same time, 7 o'clock in the morning.
And I am Joy Usagu. Thank you for staying with us on the program this morning.